Hey, everybody. Happy Monday. Rest in peace, David Bowie. We love you. Hey, I hope everybody is doing well out there in the world. And apologies to David Bowie, by the way. It is Monday. It is studentloanjustice.org live stream for April 10th. April 10th, 2023. My first announcement, very important, guys, and I hate to have to ask, but please, would you just please pitch something into that GoFundMe down there? We have to fly far away to get a decent car that isn't rusted out. So we have to fly down to like Kentucky or like Tennessee or something like that. Maybe Kentucky. We need to raise something like $1,500 still. So if you appreciate all the work that we're doing, and I think I'm going to combine this trip into some activism as well, because I think we're going to come back up through Ohio, and that will become important because of what I'm about to tell you in tonight's live stream. Maybe one other quick announcement. If you would please write a letter to the editor of your local newspaper, particularly if you live in a conservative area, calling for the return of bankruptcy protections to student loans. And I would say, in particular, calling on the Republicans, whoever your Republican congressman or woman is, calling on them to return bankruptcy protections to student loans. It would be incredibly, exceptionally helpful for our cause right now. Now, we've gotten like 20 of these published, guys, but that was between like 7 or 8 people, maybe less even, because Jackie in Texas got so many freaking letters published on her own in Texas, and we salute and love you for that, Jackie. Seriously. But come on, you got to do your part, guys. This is a working, fighting group. If you want to solve this problem, you got to put your own work in, because the people on this group can't do your work for you. You've got to pull your own weight in this group. And that's the way it's always been. That's the way it will always be as long as we are in existence. So let me just say, for those of you who are new to the group, welcome. We are studentloanjustice.org. We are the oldest, the largest, the first, and the only true grassroots group fighting only and absolutely for student loan justice. It is this group that is responsible for all the talk that we're seeing right now about student loan cancellation by executive order. That started with our petition. Oh, I can't point you to it, but if you go to our main website, studentloanjustice.org, you can see a link to our petition. It's got nearly 1.2 million signatures on it now. We started that way before almost anyone was talking about canceling student loans by executive order. But we have learned over 18 long years of very careful study that this problem all harkens back to the unconstitutional stripping of bankruptcy protections from both federal and private student loans. This is the core of the problem, guys. And no matter how the loan cancellation debate goes, we're not going to see anything good from Biden or the next president unless and until we get the right of bankruptcy returned to these loans. As long as that right is gone, and I don't care if you file or not, it doesn't matter whether you would ever or never file. Most people in our group don't want to file. I don't think almost anyone really wants to file for bankruptcy. That's not the point. Very few people will have to file when we get the right returned. Just having the leverage of bankruptcy returned is what is so freaking important. When we get bankruptcy back, Biden or whoever's president, hopefully Biden, because hopefully we'll get it done this year or before 2024. Whoever is president is going to have to cancel loans very broadly, very widely. I would say totally. I mean, if I was president, I would cancel loans totally, because no president wants to preside over a wave of bankruptcy filings that would make, the Great Depression look like a bump in the road. There are 38 million distressed student loan borrowers in the country. 38 out of 43 million federal student loan borrowers. It's probably another 5 or 6 million borrowers and cosigners who were never going to be able to repay their loans on their private student loans. So as a voting bloc, we're like distressed student loan borrowers is like 43, 44, maybe 45 million people, maybe even more, because who knows what happened during the pandemic. It's kind of hard to say. But both parties screw with us at their great peril. We're a nonpartisan group, by the way. If you're a Democrat or Republican, or none of the above, you're very welcome in this group. And by the way, if you're watching me live on either Facebook or Twitter, throw out your comment, and I'm very happy to throw it around. So it's going to be tough this year, ladies and gentlemen. Last year, everything was lined up perfectly for us last year. And at the very last minute, the Democrats betrayed us. We had a great bill in the Senate, S-2598. It had bipartisan support. It could have been passed. We could have gotten our bankruptcy rights back. But at the very last minute, the Democrats betrayed us, and they chose not to advance the bill. That was with Democrats holding the House, the Senate, and the presidency, guys. So that's gone now. Now we have a Republican-held House. And I mean, the good news on that is that we've seen leading Republicans like Matt Gaetz, John Cornyn, Josh Hawley, all call for the return of bankruptcy protections to student loans. So that's good. But, you know, there's a long ways to go between the nice rhetoric and actually getting a bill done. So if you didn't work hard enough, if you didn't fight with us last year, first of all, shame on you. You know, we don't ask our members to do much. We do daily actions, and you can, let me just dial in the link for you on that. We do daily actions, and they don't take a long time at all. Usually like less than a minute. Usually it's like retweet this and retweet that. It's usually what our daily actions consist of. But we do these daily actions increasingly. We're not doing them every day right now because it's so early in the year, but as things become more important, we will be doing them every day. But we even now we're doing them 4 times a week. So if you actually want to solve the student loan problem, and this is the only group that I'm aware of that's actually fighting this battle in the way that it needs to be fought, you got to step up. You got to get your hands a little muddy and a little bloody because, as I said, we cannot carry your weight for you. And to everybody out there who has been doing our daily actions, and that's like on any given day, it's hundreds or sometimes thousands of people, I salute you. It's usually hundreds. Low hundreds. I salute everyone out there who's been owning this problem and standing up and helping us fight. And look how close we got last year, guys. We got so fucking close. Pardon my French. So it all begins with you. And that's the most important thing I will say tonight. So actually there is some news, some very concerning news that I wanted to bring up with you today. And this is something I expected to see. I didn't know what form it was going to take, but it was just reported today in Politico that an amicus brief was filed by the attorneys general of Ohio and Utah, also the Solicitor General in Utah, that was weighing in on a BDR case. And apparently they're trying to force, because there's an element of that case that has to do with the secretary's ability to cancel student loan debt in a relatively broad way using a certain line of law. It's 1082 parentheses A parentheses 6, if you care, 20 U.S. code 1082 A6. Google it for yourself. You can see what I'm talking about. But anyways, these people, and they're both Republicans, by the way. As I said, we're firstly nonpartisan group. We hate both parties. But the Republicans tend to be the bad cop to the Democrats' good cop, the black hat to the white hat. Democrats are not good guys either, though, ladies and gentlemen. It's just Republicans are basically evil if you care about student loans. So what we saw was an amicus brief filed by these 2 attorneys general and a solicitor general, Ohio, Utah, and they are challenging the president/secretary's power to cancel loans through that one line of law, that one line of code that I just mentioned. We kind of expected this. In fact, when I first started our petition way back in March 2020, and in fact, even when the topic first became publicly discussed in the media after a Vice News article in which we were interviewed in August 2019, I have been very wary ever since that time that we would see, I wasn't thinking an amicus brief, but I was thinking actual legislation, like language inserted into a bill, like slipped into an omnibus bill in the dark of night or something, that would change the language of the Higher Education Act that gives the secretary very broad authority to cancel loans. And frankly, I still think that's a pretty big threat for us. I could see that happening. In fact, I kind of expect that someone, probably a Republican, is going to introduce legislation towards that end. But what we saw today was, I guess, also one way of doing it. So this is important. This becomes important, guys. And I haven't said it tonight, but hopefully you know that I say all the time, we really didn't even care about Biden's lame, feckless student loan cancellation gimmick in the first place, because first of all, $120,000 does nothing for the people who are worst hurt. And if you owe less than $10,000 on your student loans, or really even probably 20, probably not in our group. But it was a lame excuse of a cancellation in the first place. Biden just did it to get votes. But it was not based on that one line of code that I just said. It was based on something called the HEROES Act, which was an emergency legislation passed in 2003. Anyways, we weren't super jacked on Biden's student loan cancellation because of that. Well, this thing we saw today is far more concerning to me, far more interesting and significant to the goal of canceling student loans than Biden's lame student loan cancellation, whichever way that Supreme Court case goes. So yeah, what we saw today, and we'll probably see more. We'll probably see legislation come out where they try and kill that language that gives the secretary very broad, unambiguous authority to waive, compromise, release their interest in federally held student loans. That's going to be a fight, guys. That's going to be a kind of a big deal. I don't know how this thing is likely going to wind its way through this particular case. And I'd really rather not see it caught up in this, because the BDR saga is just disgusting. This thing has been going on for decades now, and it's just disgusting. And it's been used to suck all the air out of the room for many, 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 many years. But yeah, no, this is concerning, guys. And there's a couple of ways to think about it. So, if Congress sabotages, takes away the unambiguous authority of the secretary to cancel student loans broadly, if Congress takes that power away, guys, we are absolutely fucked. I mean, fucked like we've never been fucked before. Pardon my French, by the way, but it's kind of important. That leaves us only with bankruptcy rights. And that becomes very difficult, because then, assuming we get bankruptcy rights returned, which it will become much, much harder to get bankruptcy rights back if this power to cancel is taken away. Because and here's the quiet part out loud. Maybe I shouldn't even say this, but it's true. Private banks that have nothing to do with student loans, they absolutely do not want 25 million people filing for bankruptcy on their student loans. They don't. Because, and just think about it, if you file for bankruptcy on your student loans, pretty good chance you might have some other debts laying around, and you're like, well, shit, I'm taking the plunge. I may as well just include everything. And yeah, so you might include a car loan, or whatever other debt you might have hanging out there, credit cards, etc. So that becomes politically very, very ugly. Very ugly. Then we're going to have, JP Morgan Chase and all of Wall Street fighting against us. And right now, we enjoy great support from Republicans and vocal support from all manner of private banks, even people like Bill Dudley or the chairman of the Federal Reserve. He has publicly questioned, why are student loans treated differently from all other loans in bankruptcy court? It makes no sense. It does make no sense. And so this window that we have to push Republicans to get bankruptcy done, that window becomes much harder to get through when the president and the secretary's power to cancel loans goes away. So it's not really obvious. You have to really kind of live and breathe this stuff to really understand what I'm saying, but it's true. So, I don't have any action item for you on this point. I don't know where that court case is going to go. I don't know if the judge is even going to really take that amicus brief very seriously, or even rule on the question of whether or not the secretary has the power to cancel loans through 1082 parentheses A parentheses 6. It's a mouthful. So I don't know where that's going to go, but all I can say is it's something that we should all be very concerned about, ladies and gentlemen, and we should all be fighting with all of our might right now to get bankruptcy rights returned to student loans. When we get bankruptcy rights returned to student loans, the president, assuming he has the power like he does now to cancel loans, well, yeah, they're going to start canceling loans left and right. If not, then all of a sudden, oh man, in order to get student loan cancellation, we have to pass a bill through Congress, who generally are constrained by these pay-go rules, where you have to find a way to pay for stuff. And so student loan cancellation, the taxpayers already paid for those loans many years ago, and there's no good reason on God's green earth why Congress should have to pass a law that forces the taxpayer to come up with even more money, like not double the amount. It's not twice. It's way more than twice, right? Because when you originally borrowed $20,000, the government paid $20,000 for the loan. Well, your loan balance now could be $100,000. So there's no good reason for the government to have to now pay $100,000 additionally in order to what? I get they would have to give that money to the Department of Education, and then the Department of Education would cancel the loans. That is just not going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. Congress is not going to pass that law. So this is important, guys. This is really important. Bankruptcy becomes just absolutely critical to everything. And if we wait too long, if we don't push hard enough early enough, all bets are off, guys. All bets are off. And I don't even know what that looks like, but I can tell you that social unrest and civil unrest become a part of that reality. I mean, we're talking dystopia, guys. We're talking bad. We're talking a bad ending. We don't want that, guys. We do not want that. The lending system has failed, guys. Make no mistake. Almost no one, very few people, in my humble opinion, hopefully no one will ever pay another dollar back on their federal student loans. In my humble opinion, it's not only unwise, I think it's very unpatriotic at this point to pay money into this disgusting, nationally threatening lending beast. So we got that going for us. But ladies and gentlemen, there's an easy path to solve this problem, and it starts with bankruptcy. Whether you would ever or never file is not important. Just having the constitutional right of bankruptcy returned to us. And at this point, I would say much sooner rather than later would be better, would be best. And so you guys got to fight harder, guys. You guys have to fight way fucking harder. Pardon my French. We've got 1.4 million people on this group. And when only a couple hundred people are doing anything on any given day, we're going to get fucked. And that's your fault if you're not doing anything. That's your fault. I bust my ass on this thing every single day. I see other people out there. I'm not going to start naming names, but people like Joanna, and Lisa and Jackie and Nick and Ed and many other people are busting and Michael are busting their asses on this thing every day. And I salute them, and you should too. But really, more than salute them, you should get off your ass and help us, because these are your loans and this is your problem. And we're not going to pull your weight for you. It does not work that way. And you're not better than us, by the way. These are your loans. This is your problem. You're not a prom queen. You're just a normal person just like us. And that is the only way this problem is going to get solved. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much what I had to say tonight. I'm going to look for your comments here, if I can even see them. I told you it was going to be a tough year, didn't I? And here we are, dudes. Hey, Jackie Abron is with us from Texas. We see the 3 hearts from Jackie. You know what, guys? I'm not even going to delve into all the comments tonight. I've said my piece, and I'll answer your other comments offline. But I'm just going to leave it there at that. The sooner we can get into the SLJ van, the better. And as I said, we've still got a tiny bit of the ways to go. So just help with that. But if you haven't been helping this group, then you need to look in the mirror, and you need to figure that out. You need to throw whatever's holding you back out the window. And you need to help us, because these are your loans and this is your problem. And that's always been true. So I will leave it there at that. I'll be back on Wednesday, ladies and gentlemen, and hopefully have some good news for you on Wednesday. We're meeting with legislators all the time now. We're meeting with some, I think, tomorrow, and some other legislators on Wednesday. We're doing it. We're doing our part, guys. You need to step up and do your part, and that starts with the minimum, doing the daily actions. And our current project, which is getting a letter to the editor in your local newspaper published, calling for the return of bankruptcy protections and or cancellation. But quite frankly, at this point, I would prefer just stick with bankruptcy, because that's where this battle is actually won. Okay, guys. I'll be back on Wednesday for sure. I may be back tomorrow, depending. But good luck. God bless. And Godspeed, everyone.